accept the sheriff's recommendation and authorize the sheriff, county administrator, and corporate counsel to enter into contract negotiations with All Star Towing.
No support? I have a motion with support. We can now open discussion on that item. Commissioners who would like to get started?
I had a comment, if I could, Greg. When I looked at the towing data, which is extensive, the thing that stuck out to me was the difference between requested and rotation. When I look over this, I was one of those calls that requested a specific, a guy sitting in the room today. And like I mentioned on Monday, I was charged $400 to have that car towed 7 miles after my son's car accident. I'm really surprised that more people aren't aware that they can request towing. So maybe that's something we could work on, that it doesn't have to automatically go to the contract provider. People at that time can make a request. And again, I'm really surprised when you look through these numbers, how low those requests are, but seeing as how I was overcharged, maybe that's why, I don't know.
Dr. Boggs, I believe some research was done, and perhaps it will help the discussion move along if you would tell us what you found out and put a little context on it.
So at Monday's meeting, Commissioner Howard asked for some data related to towing. So I requested data from the RMS system, which is the management system for the 911 calls. Specifically, we looked at Shiawassee County, and we are only looking at the Sheriff's Department. So, you know, Durand has their own thing, Owasso has their own thing, the state police have their own thing. Even though they all go through Central Dispatch, we're only looking at items that are associated with the Sheriff's Department and their deputies. There were a total of 624 calls for towing. Of that, 6 were canceled, so they, for whatever reason, the car started, whatever, they didn't need the car to be towed. Then the remaining is the breakdown of them. Bowden's had 0 requests, but received 23 from the rotation. This is all from 2024 staff, by the way, so the entire year. Brown's had been requested by 4, and the rotation was 33 accepted rotations. Joe's had requested 4 and had 60 accepted rotations. Gaffner's had been requested 7 times and had 225 participations in the rotation schedule. All-Star was requested 12 times and had accepted the rotation 237 times. Now, the number that Under Sheriff Carson gave of 240, those are the number of calls that are involved with what I would call justice-involved vehicles. They're impounded for one reason or another, DWLS, driving while license suspended, DUIs, etc. So there were 240 of those. The number of non-answers in the rotation call in dispatch. Bowden, these are people that did not answer when they were called on the first rotation of the call. So Bowden's 135 times did not answer or did not take the call. Brown's did not 76 times. Joe's did not 13 times. Gaffner's did not 33 times. All-Star did not 41 times. So out of 624 tows requested, 298 were passed on the first call, which is about 47% of the time that someone from 911 called that there was a pass on for that particular call. The RMS system did not give me more numbers to see if that was multiple dialings on each one or not, but just based on that information. So I provided that breakdown of the information to you. Also, you asked for the scoring tabulation sheets, and those are in front of you as well from the Sheriff's Department. The scores were as follows. All-Star received 66 points out of a total of 70. Gaffner received a total of 51, and Brown's total received a total of 28 based on their score.
Quick question, just a few of them. The percentage, what would this be, the percentage of non-answer for like the entirety of the calls in 24? Or if you have it, like the
That
percentage
would
would
be
be
1898, that'd be 47% of it.
47%.
47% of the first time when they called, they did not receive anyone. And I'm not singling any out, that's the numbers in composite for everyone across the county, that when a 911 dispatcher dialed, 47%, or 1 out of 2 times, they had to go to the next person in the rotation.
And have one more if that's all right.
Please.
How many other counties, and I may have the terminology wrong, but this would be a sole source contract, right? Okay, so how many other counties in Michigan do sole source contracting?
Great question, and I am a number cruncher, so I'm going to turn that over to the content area experts, that's the sheriff. I just look at the data, and I think that it's important to note what is before you is not a contract award. What is before you is to accept the sheriff's recommendation so that the sheriff can bring in that individual, and then the city or the county attorney and myself would negotiate terms of the contract. That includes price regulations and other aspects of that. The prices in these bids are not the ones that are final. None of them are, because you're not approving that. You're only approving the contract. And I think that's an important note, that the sheriff, under his statutory authority, can change and augment the rotation schedule without the approval of the Board of Commissioners. That's under his purview. However, the sole reason that this is before the Board of Commissioners is because of the contract issue. Only Board of Commissioners can enter into a contract. And that the sheriff votes.
Greg, could I ask for a clarification on that?
Yes, and just if I may, Sheriff, since you're here, I assume you are willing to answer questions from the board.
Yeah, yes, I will.
All right, so
If you folks think this has been easy on me, you're wrong. This has been extremely difficult. I don't think I've slept in the past 3 days. And the friend that I mentioned was Joe. But I have other friends here too. We have put a great deal of research into this. There are several sheriff's offices that contract with one company. MSP has done it. Many police jurisdictions across the state have done it. I listen to my employees and I listen to my dispatchers, and my number one responsibility is the safety of the community, first responders, or deputies, or police, or firemen. And Corey will go into it a little more, but we have done a lot of research. And like Dr. Boggs stated, this is just the beginning. We don't know the next step, what's going to happen. But I can assure you that every deputy that responds to a crash or an impound or whatever the case may be, they will ask that person if they have a reference. And if they do, you guys are going to be called. That much I do know. We don't know. Maybe this won't work. I can't make everybody happy. I wish I could, because that's my goal. I don't like confrontation. I love this county. I've lived here my whole life. I grew up in the sheriff's office since I was 12. I know the operation. I know what is needed. And if this doesn't work, tear it up and start over. Corey?
I'm going to continue to stand here because I don't want to put my back to you guys. It's just complicated. Prayer tonight talked about doing what's right for the people of Shiawassee County. And that's what the sheriff and I have always done. We'll always put the people of Shiawassee County ahead. And we'll do what's right for them. A lot of familiar faces in here, people that I haven't seen in a while, people that I work with. A lot of experience running records. Ever since day one, there's been dramas with the record company. What we're trying to do is what's best for the workers at Shiawassee County Sheriff's Office and what's best for the citizens. The purpose of this is to eliminate unnecessary things, record inspections, security checks, equipment checks, record complaints. But most importantly, it's the dispatchers. I don't know if you guys know this, but we have 2 people working almost all the time. 2. We've been lucky, we've hired some lately, but for the most part, just 2. When there's a weather event, hundreds of calls are starting to come in. You combine that, because I don't think you guys probably have been to the dispatch center. You combine that with a medical emergency like a heart attack, house fire, whatever the case may be. You've got one person that's tied up, and now the lines are just ringing. Those lines are being transferred to other counties because they can't answer in time. You got an injury accident, you're trying to talk to the officer on scene, you're trying to dispatch a record, you're trying to call the record company. 47% of the time, not all, some of the people here answer, some don't. 47% of the time, people don't answer. So the dispatcher has to call the next person. Somebody's going to get hurt. And like I said, we're supposed to look out for the people of Shiawassee County. That's probably the reason why we're doing what we're doing. The subcommittee consists of me. I've worked in the county 30 years. I have 10 years of experience in supervising, record rotation, complaints, security checks, equipment checks. I think I'm called. I think I have my finger on the pulse on what's going on in this county. The scoring. You have a company in Shiawassee County that has all the equipment. We would never enter into an agreement with that company if they have an employee that has an issue. And quite honestly, no rocks should be thrown in this room, that's for sure.
Is that an insult to us or what?
It's my side.
Hold on, this isn't a debate time, please.
You have another company, Gathers, who has essentially subcontracted with 2 other companies to meet the requirements. PJ's Towing and Jones. PJ's Towing is out of Lansing. I drove there. Great equipment, nice facility. 30,000 calls a year they handle. Contract with the city of Lansing, Kane County, Eaton County. 10 different law enforcement agencies. When I went there, I timed from Woodbury Road to PJ's Towing. It was just under 19 minutes. For us, so the vehicle lease agreement says that they're going to be on the scene within 20 minutes. So you got 2 companies subleased by one. PJ's for the heavy duty stuff, Joe's for the lots, the facilities in Shiawassee County, and the drivers and the equipment. PJ's, like I said, if it's in New Ultra, if you MapQuest it, that's 50 minutes to get from Martin Luther King and 496. I haven't been through that area lately. The construction there is terrible. Maybe 50 minutes to get there. So we would have to sit there, or if the expressway shut down, we'd have to sit there and deal with that. So because of the scoring, heavy-duty records, the time frame that was looked at, the lot locations were looked at. If you had 3 semis that crashed on I-69 and there was a fatal, they all need to go to one location. Or at least in this situation, Joe's has a secondary facility. It's got a pole barn, but there's no fence around it. You might be able to put one inside. Well, what would you do if you had 2? It's just a thought. So all the scoring was looked at, I was fair. And I gave a recommendation to the sheriff. If this doesn't work, then we will try something different. If it's a major weather event, and for some reason, All-Star can't handle it, we'll go back to the rotation process on the computer screen, and these people will be called. But it's time to try something different. I
Thank
think
you.
our employees deserve better. I think the people of Shiawassee County deserve better. And I hope you approve the sheriff's recommendation.
Commissioners?
I just had that,
Hold on a second, I gotta recognize Gary first.
oh, go ahead.
Yeah. Well, I don't agree with this. I lived in the county all my life. I'm probably older than anybody else here. I've been a commissioner this is my 15th year. And if there's an accident or weather related on the highway, there could be 10 or 15 cars and All-Star's gonna handle all 15 at one time. You say you can call another one, all these other guys are gonna be out of business. So, and that's my opinion, so I guess you got your own opinion, I'll have mine.
That was the question I was answering.
It ain't a question, it's a fact, so. And you're gonna call these other poor guys, and I'm been around, I think we'll have a lot of the small guys here do it and handle it. So, I could go on and on, but that's my opinion, so.
Commissioner Garber, you had something?
Yes, I did. Back to, there was a mention made of a sole source contract, and I guess that was not my interpretation, because when I look through these numbers, and as the sheriff said, you are not required to abide by this contract unless you're one of those 240 people getting your car impounded. So the vast majority could be requesting anybody in this room. Why they're not doing that, I don't know.
I guess the point would be it's a sole source contract for those that don't have a preference.
Right, but why don't they have a preference? And they can have a preference, am I correct? They can, as I did last October, requested one of the people sitting in this room, and it was an All-Star. So anybody can do that. We are not taking away the majority of this business if the community member requests any of the people sitting here.
Commissioner Holzhausen?
Yeah, that's fine and dandy. I've lived in the county all my life, and I don't know any of the towing companies. So how could I have a preference? Who's going to tow my vehicle? That's the biggest joke I ever seen. When you have an accident, how do you know who it is? I bet you could ask on the street, there wouldn't be one person know who all the towing companies in the county.
They might not know them all, but they'll know a few.
They don't know any.
Let's wait to be recognized, Commissioner. If I may add a bit of, oh, did you want to speak first?
Just a couple of questions.
Please go ahead, then I'd like to say a thing or two.
On the previous question, I wanted just for the record, I looked it up, it's very hard to find on the contract, so that was not meant to be a gotcha question, I was just curious about the data, so that was not, but one other question I had is to Mr. Mauer's question, and this, I hadn't thought of this angle, I just wanted to kind of put this out there, that can prices be added? So if you have a set price, and then can you add additional prices you go along? You know, because this is when I buy tickets all the time, right? It's like, I think it's $30, ends up being 90 by the time I'm done. Can that?
So here's how it's gonna work, because if you approve this, it's no longer just the sheriff's recommendation. At that point, the county attorney will be drafting it, and I will be negotiating it. And there will not be a lot of extra frills in it. It's gonna be very clear on what it costs, and it's gonna be controlled, and it will have a particular price yet to be determined.
And
That's
then,
part of the negotiation.
and then, I'm sorry.
No, I mean, you've negotiated with me. I'm not an easy person to negotiate with, and it will be a process.
And ultimately, when that process is complete and you're able to say, look, we've gone here, you're not budging, is it like, well, we go to the next guy? Is that how it works, or is
No, it
it?
would have to come back here.
It would have to come back, okay.
Yeah, and it would have to come back here for the board to decide. So this is just the step to move it towards the contract.
Okay.
I mean, I continually and always try to get the best price for the residents of Shiawassee County, whether it's managing the county, cutting the budget, or setting prices for others to engage with.
And only one more question, I'm sorry, if I can,
Please.
just one more. The geography was discussed on a lot of different angles, and this time, obviously, between Lansing and Lothrop, and, you know, Shiawassee is about 500 square miles. Is one contractor able to, and I don't know this, I'm not in the business, I don't understand all what goes into it, but are they able to cover that space? I'm concerned if there's one that's relied and, oops, we can't make it, what happens then? What happens if it can't be covered after that? Sorry.
They wait.
Well, it will revert back to the process on it. CAD screen and dispatch, there's a rotation button. Click on that, the company's.
They won't be here.
There won't be rotation. They'll be.
Okay. Well, I thank you for your answers on that. I'm just trying to figure out some of the questions that come up at the last minute there. Thank you.
I wanted to say a couple of things for the benefit of the public, and also to kind of put in context for the commissioners where we are and what this body does. County government is a very strange thing. It is not a top-down system. We have to remember our sheriff is an elected official. He is elected by the people to run the sheriff's department. This is one of the decisions that the sheriff has within his authority to make. We are a budgeting body. We set budgets and we approve contracts. And we say if the contract comes before it, does it fit within the sheriff's budget? It does. Is it part of the budgeting agreement we hammer out? It is. This is not costing the county any more money. This isn't really, or it should not be. It could be. We could interfere in the sheriff's office. No question about it, we could. We shouldn't. That is my opinion. This is the sheriff's recommendation, and unless we find that it does not fit his budget, or is outside of his mandate as an elected official, or there's some malfeasance involved, it is not for us to be telling department heads how to run their departments. We wouldn't go to the county clerk's office and tell her how to run her office. We wouldn't go to the drain commissioner who is elected and tell him who he should hire to clean out the drains or what specific equipment he should buy. We set his budget, and the same is true with all of the other department heads. Unless there is an extremely good reason for us to deny the sheriff this decision, I don't know if it's a right decision or a wrong decision. I'm hearing the arguments on this side, I'm hearing the arguments on that side, but the sheriff was elected to make this decision. And it is my opinion that we should approve it unless we have a very good reason to not do so. And I'm not seeing a very good reason to not do so. That is among what is our purview. We might not think it's a great idea, but it's the sheriff's decision. Commissioner Holzhausen.
Yeah, Mr. Boggs said that, and deputy said that they're gonna watch it, see how much they spend. What are they gonna, who's gonna watch that? They're gonna have a person on there to see how much they charge, or if you charge 10 cents too much, or $1, you're gonna be out there, who's gonna investigate? You're gonna go out there and investigate all that?
Contract will be canceled.
Yeah.
Contract will be immediately.
Who's gonna watch it? Who's gonna watch it?
It'll be part of the sheriff's department.
Yeah, but they're all buddy-buddy, who's gonna watch it? They charge an extra $20 or $50, so.
Commissioner Shepard, please.
I've heard all the debate over the last few days, and I give respect to everyone's opinion. I just ask that I have respect in this Board of Commissioners. As a board, it is our job to represent all of our constituents, not just one or two. We all know the towing issue has been around for years. This is just the most recent effort to award a sole control to one towing company in the county. It is bad policy, and it could very well be a bad mistake. There are many problems with this contract, but the most important is the economic impact that it will have on all the people who have come here tonight to ask us to vote for no. It is bad public policy again. The agenda item before us is an authorization for the sheriff, Dr. Brian Boggs, and the county attorney to negotiate a contract. In doing so, the contract becomes client, attorney, working product, and confidentiality. To negotiate a contract, in doing so, the contract becomes client, attorney, work product, and exempt from FOIA, and can only be disclosed by a court order. This again could be very bad policy. The process surrounding this contract should have been transparent and public, considering the conflict from a couple years ago. Apparently the county learned nothing from the past. I'm aware there may be violations or mistakes with the RFS, or the RFP as it's been called, process in itself, and the responses. I'm not going into those right now, but I am having serious concerns. If this contract is awarded, it is extremely likely an injunction or a lawsuit will soon follow. I can't comment any further on that right now. Yesterday I did a bit of research and fact checking, looking at calls and non-response as it appears. It isn't often calls go unanswered. There are some, but not many. In fact, there are instances that All-Star has appeared to be non-responsive as well. The documentation exists that back it up. The sheriff said the RFP RFS is an attempt to fix problems with non-responsive calls at the county dispatch, but our dispatchers are highly trained to address occasional non-response when it happens. Our dispatchers are simply the best, and they do an extraordinary job every day. I am on the Central Dispatch Committee and have heard nothing about the non-responsive calls at this time. This statement by the sheriff may be an excuse for RFS, RFP, but I don't believe that the problem exists. To make it clear, I did not speak to dispatch, I used other resources. My limited fact-finding also disputes the sheriff's numbers offered in the Finance Committee on Monday. The total number of tows, as understood, is over 400 per year, or whatever it is, with the amount number being just closer to the 240 that he offered. And that's not the total amount of tow calls for accidents in this county, has been clarified here. It does not account for deputies and MSP calling a tow from a personal cell phone. It could be as high as a couple of thousand. The real issue is giving one tow company total control and economic access to business in our county. I used an accountant to estimate the value of exclusive rights to tow in Shiawassee County. This person came up with about $2 million per year. That number is based on insurance claims with estimates of storage and impound fees. This was a quick estimate, which may in fact not be exact, but it is the best I could do in such a short time. And in fact, the board may be voting on an $8 million contract. This is very bad public policy. The value of the contract is not important for this discussion, but it is important on the impact of other tow companies. $2 million per year is a lot of money. A lot of money, I said. Enough money to vote no and strongly send a message that the entire process from the beginning to the end needs to be redone and much more transparent. And it must be disclosed to the public. To do otherwise is, again, bad policy. Some tow companies did not get the RFS, RFP. The general public didn't know anything about this contract until word got around. I may have been the person getting the word around, but gee whiz, Somebody's got to do it. It is bad policy to keep the public in the dark unless Good Old Boys Network is still alive and well. So at this moment, I'm asking my fellow board members to look at every person who came here today to ask you to vote no. You are voting to take away a part of their income. Many. Yes, a vote might cost them their businesses. This no vote will prevail in keeping their businesses. Don't look down or away. Look at the people who are impacted by the contract. Move it forward. Small businesses are struggling, especially since COVID. We lost over 9,000 small businesses in this state alone because of the COVID mandates. Small businesses are struggling now, and I don't think we need to negatively impact them to benefit one favored company. Small businesses built this country. They are the backbone of this country. You give billions of dollars to one person to create a monopoly, and that's what they're going to do. Send the right message to our friends, neighbors, and constituents. Simply vote no. And after looking at this package, I think you guys should really consider that.
Commissioner Haley?
I have a problem here. I hear two different things, and I don't think what some are saying is going on. What I hear from one side is saying, we are locking in a contract that cannot be broken, and it's going to wipe out everyone, but yet I hear another side saying that if it doesn't work, the contract goes with it.
There's a third side. There's not even a contract in front of you. There is no contract.
Right. That's what I'm saying, is I don't think that's what we're hearing here. I think we're hearing about, my understanding is, you go to the lowest bidder. The lowest bidder is locked in. If that's who we go to, that's lowest bid.
So,
If that doesn't work, yeah, go ahead.
so essentially what they've done is they've turned in an RFP. It has been scored based on that. What they're seeking is permission to then begin entering into the process to negotiate a contract. There is not a contract before you. You are just selecting the bidder to begin the contract process. And I estimate the value of the contract at about $128,000. If you take 624 calls times about $200 more or less, that's $128,000.
That's wrong.
And so I was hearing from the sheriff's office, if it doesn't work, what happens?
If it doesn't work, you can cancel.
He has the authority to do so.
You can go cancel and go back to the rotation.
Our vote is not preventing him from doing that. Okay.
The rotation's gone.
Again, if I may, this vote is whether we are going to override the elected sheriff's decision on how to run his office. Do you want to set a precedent where we're going to tell the department heads, the other elected officials, full-time officials, we're a part-time body, we do budgeting. This is within the sheriff's budget. It's not even a matter of agreement or not. Are we going to override the elected sheriff, the people, I hear a lot of things, the people and the constituents. He's elected by the whole county to be the sheriff. This is his decision. Who goes on road patrol and when, and how the jail is run. Do you remember when we changed the food service and so on? Sheriff's decision. Same thing happened with the previous sheriff. I didn't necessarily agree with every decision, and I may not agree with some of the decisions that some of our other elected officials make. We're a funding unit, and we better have a very good reason if we're going to set a precedent to start interfering with the decisions of elected officials. If the people do not like how the sheriff is running his office, the people in the next election can put a new sheriff in. Are we going to take on the responsibility now of deciding how the sheriff runs his office. This does not violate his budget, it does not violate his office. I don't see any violation here with what the sheriff has decided. Again, I'm not saying yes or no whether it's a good decision. I understand what he's saying, I understand what other people are saying, I understand what Commissioner Holzhausen is saying, but I have not seen an overriding reason why we tell the elected sheriff why he can't run his office as he sees fit. Commissioner
You're
Holzhausen.
talking about elected official. I was an elected drain commissioner. The former board of commissioners, they wanted me in jail because of the way I run the office. They wanted to run it, and it was the same situation. So don't say it never happened because you wasn't around. I've been around
I
for
didn't
years.
say it never, I'd say it shouldn't have happened. This,
But it did happen, so
okay, and
So-
you didn't like it, did you?
no.
Okay. Sorry, didn't mean to have the back and forth. Commissioners, anyone else would like to be? All right, then we shall move on to
A
roll call vote, please.
Commissioner Holzhausen,
No.
Commissioner Johnson,
Yes.
Commissioner Garber,
Yes.
Commissioner Howard,
Yes.
Commissioner Shepard,
No.
Commissioner Haley,
Yes.
Chairman Broder.
Yes.
I knew it was going to pass and you didn't say anything, so.
I move to approve the minutes of the May 19th, 2025 Finance